Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lord Gord Podcast. This is your host, Lord Gord. I'm giving you information that's factually correct and politically incorrect. And contrary to rumor, gigolos get lonely too. Yeah. So I'm going to be breaking down two songs this week for this podcast. I'm going to be breaking down Gigolos Get Lonely Too by The Time. And I'm going to be breaking down One Woman by Isaac Hayes. I'm just breaking down the lyrics. I wrote down the lyrics. I'm just going to tell you what I think it means. There's questions that popped up in my head and just some of the more broader concepts that the topics of the song apply to. So, Gigolos Get Lonely Too. Let's just get started about that. The Time. From the 1982 album, What Time Is It? Written by Prince. Credited to Morris Day, but written by Prince. So verse 1 goes like this. I guess you've heard of my reputation. I've had my share of fooling around. But everybody needs stimulation. And mine just happens to be all over town. Now, there is a lot of research out there that once... men and especially women, once they have a certain amount of intimate partners, they lose the ability to pair bond, meaning that they can no longer form emotional and long-lasting connections needed for long-term relationships in marriage. So the fact that Morris, or the character that Morris is portraying in the song, is living like this doesn't bode well for him, and you'll see that as we go through the lyrics. It's an easy money occupation, first class psychiatry, but just once I want to make love without taking off my clothes. Just once I want to make love with somebody that really and truly knows. So my thought about that part, just once I want to make love without taking off my clothes, just once I want to love with somebody who really and truly knows, this maybe in this culture, and this was 82, I mean, sexual revolution, welfare state had already hit in the 60s, but in this culture, perhaps it's become so normal for people's morals and behavior to be so loose, and for them to be so uninhibited and animal-like, that even the women were corrupted, and to find a woman that understands his plight is difficult, because the women are engaging in the reprehensible conduct as well. Of course, since he's a gigolo, he's not servicing men, he's servicing women. So it's a lens into just the depravity of the culture that Morris is in, man. The fact that that he wants to find someone who really and truly knows how he feels, it shows that a lot of these women have become psychopaths, which is what a lot of them become after they have, once they pass a certain threshold of intimate partners. So the chorus goes, contrary to rumor, gigolos get lonely too. All my lovers need stimulation, but honey baby, I think that I need you. And I think this is a refutation of the materialist mindset, of the rock star mindset. It's just, once you have a bunch of shekels and a bunch of power, you have all the women you want and all the things you want, and that's supposed to satisfy you, and that's supposed to make you feel great. But what I've heard from a lot of rich people is, you buy the big boat, it's nice, but then, a day or two later, you're over it. So what Prince wrote and what Morris sang about was just the fact that, he has virtually everything that drives men. He has the women and he has the money, but he's lacking something, because our lives just aren't all about the material. The material doesn't satisfy you. It doesn't satisfy you, just the inner workings of your spirit, And even though Morris Day is living a life, there's a beacon of hope out at the abyss of nihilism. So let's go into verse 2. Well, maybe you're the kind of person that could turn my world around. Won't you give me a little inspiration? Well, maybe that's what I need to make me settle down. So I wrote in my little page here, what's with his agency, why is it that the woman has to inspire him to change versus him looking at his life, his seemingly perfect life. He gets a bunch of women and a bunch of money, and looking at it and saying, you know what, I need to do better with myself. Even though I have all the material things that I could ever dream of, it doesn't satisfy me. I feel incomplete. Life is more than this. And also I think it builds on the purpose that, women need men, men need women. Oftentimes men need goals and objectives to orient themselves around, and having a wife and family is a great anchor in a man's life. It gives him something to work towards. It gives him purpose. He works not only for material objects, but he works for the safety and the prosperity of his family and his future descendants. He's passing down his morals and values and wisdom to the next generation. And that means a lot more than driving a nice car or anything like that. So, hey, in the song, the guy has some kind of inclination to want to stop living the hedonistic, nihilistic life that he's living, but it seems that he doesn't have enough willpower or enough desire to do it on his own. He needs a muse to inspire him. So let's keep going to verse 2. It's an easy money occupation, but honey, one thing understand. I've got more money than you could imagine in your wildest dreams. But honey, money don't make no happy man. No, I'm all about the free market. I'm all about voluntary exchange, getting your shekels up. But usually when it comes to me, acquiring shekels is to live a better future, get a good wife, and pass down the culture. I'm not getting shekels just to get shekels. Oh, of course, I love the shekels. But there's something behind my motivation to acquire capital and resources. So what he's saying is, listen, man. In other words, this is a refutation of the left-wing view. The left-wing view says that people are their morals are depraved and whatnot, and their behavior is aberrant because they lack material things. But it's absolutely false. I've talked about that in many podcasts, the underclass, so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is that in their worldview, in the materialist worldview, him having all these women and money would make him happy and satisfied, and no one would be able to touch him. But the man is still longing for companionship. He's still longing for purpose. All right, he's still longing for a meaningful connection. So no amount of money or fame or power can replace that, which is what a lot of these well-to-do women find out the hard way. They climb the corporate ladder or get masters, PhDs, so on and so forth, and their marriage pool dwindles tremendously because most women don't want to marry men that aren't as accomplished as them, and most men don't want to marry women that are more accomplished than them. So it really narrows down their dating pool, and by the time they've reached the upper echelon of whatever profession they're working in, usually they're past the age that most men will find them attractive and find them in the age group of marriage. They might be early mid-30s, and most men don't want that. They want youth and beauty, and once women hit 30 and over, they're not nearly as attractive as they used to be. And a lot of these women are so depressed, they're so angry and so upset. I've looked at studies that show that over time, as women have gotten more freedom and more liberation, they're actually less happy because they're falling into Moore's Day's gigolo conundrum. They think, hey, having a lot of intimate partners and a lot of money is going to fill that God-shaped hole in your heart. But the reality is, it's not going to fulfill you. It's not going to fulfill your heart and your spirit like having a loving husband and children, like having purpose, So there it is. And the breakdown goes, just once I want to love without taking off my clothes. Just once I want to love with somebody who knows that I got more money than you could ever see. But honey, money won't get me up off of my knees. In other words, the money can't buy you love. It'll get you a lot of girls. Trust me, it'll get you the girls. But even though the man has gotten everything he's ever desired, he still longs for a meaningful connection. So that's Gigolos Get Lonely too. I love this song. Love it. Next song is written by Charles Chalmers and Sandra Rhodes from his 1969 album, Hot Buttered Soul. And I love this song. Great arrangement, great singing, great composition. I love it, but very, very questionable content. So I'm going to read verse 1. I fight my way through the 5 o'clock rush hour as daylight slowly leaves the sky. I open the door to that little room we call home. Her loving arms are there to greet me. Her tender lips are always there to meet me at the end of every day. So if he's fighting his way through rush hour, that means he's using a considerable amount of force and effort to get back to his home. And we find out the woman is stable and dependable, and she mostly gives him what he wants because, hey, he works all day, he comes home, and she's always there. Nice, stable, solid, dependable, right? But here it is. He says, it's always been that way. Okay? Now, here's the mirror in verse 1. Then I fight my way through the early morning traffic, and it's someone else that's heavy on my mind. Then I open the door to our favorite little coffee shop, and she's always on time. Her loving arms are there to greet me, and her tender lips are there to meet me. That's the way I start my day, but it's too bad it doesn't end that way. So, Charles Chalmers and his wife, the to the lyrics pertaining to the woman that he's cheating with. And I believe the reason why they did that is to show his devotion and admiration for the both of them. And you clearly see that it's just not carnal. Like, this is deep. It's awful, but it's deep. And listen, so he fights his way home first, right? He knows he has the woman at home. Then he fights his way through traffic. But then it doesn't say he's going to work. It says he's fighting through traffic and someone else is on his mind. He opens the door to her favorite coffee shop and she's always on time. So when he gets home from work, his wife's always there. When he gets to the coffee shop, a much less intimate space than your home, she's always on time. So even though they're almost a splitting mirror of one another, the level of intimacy is a lot different. But then he says, it's too bad that it doesn't end that way. So in other words, IK is either the he likes the idea of the new woman more than his wife, or he really does. So the chorus of the song goes, one woman's making my home, while the other woman's making me do wrong. I didn't intend to let it get that strong. Now I've got to decide where I belong. So in one part of the chorus, he's taking no responsibility for his action. He's saying the other woman's making him do wrong. No, IKs, you're making you do wrong. You're the one rushing in traffic, meeting her at that coffee shop multiple times, and saying, I wish my days ended that way. So to say she's making you do wrong is just wrong. But then at the end of the chorus, he says he has to decide where he belongs. So now he's taking responsibility. So first he says, hey, the woman's making me do wrong. It's not me. It's not the fact that I choose to hang out with this woman. I choose to cheat on my wife. No, it's her. And then he says, hey, I have to make a decision. So if she's making you do wrong, how do you make the decision? If she's making you do wrong. No, you're making you do wrong, IKs. That's what a lot of cheaters do. They blame the other person. A lot of liars do that. All right. So the second part of the song repeats that her loving arms are there to greet me and her tender lips are there to meet me. That's the way I start my day, but it's too bad it doesn't end that way. This woman got a hold on the sky. Repeats the chorus. Then he says, I don't know which one to choose, and neither one can this man bear to lose. Really? So if you lose the woman, that you're cheating on your wife with, your life's just going to be over? What is your wife not giving you, IKs, that this other woman is giving you? And so you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to be just like these broads, you know. You want to have the alpha guy, right? And then you want to have the cuck that, you know, pays for everything. You know, life isn't about solutions all the time. It's about trade-offs, man. Gotta make a decision, IKs. You don't. First of all, you don't cheat on your wife. You don't do that. You don't break that sacred vow. You don't break that covenant. You don't break that contract. If you even have thoughts about cheating on your wife, you need to sort that out between you and her, because she didn't sign up for that. She didn't sign up for that betrayal, for that treachery, right? And the new woman, she must know that you're married, unless you're double time lying. So, what are you going to do? I know what I'd do. I wouldn't cheat on my wife. So, that's the Lord Gord Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe on iTunes. Subscribe on YouTube. Get the Lord Gord Funk album, This Isn't TV, on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, whatever. Next week, we're going to talk about Culperthwaite and how he helped shape Hong Kong into the financial and economic powerhouse that it is today. That one should be fun. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Lord Gord. I'll talk to you next time.